You're listening to the Tumbling Saber Podcast, a member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Check us out on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com, on iTunes, Facebook, and Twitter, and take your first step into a larger world. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 63 of the Tumbling Saber Podcast. My name's Kyle.
I'm Corey.
And I'm James.
And boys, we've broken the first major milestone. We are now under 300 days until The Last Jedi drops. How does that make you guys feel?
Tingly.
Corey, get off James. Get off James. Stop making James tingly.
You know what I come to the realization of just watching these calendars? Is that Star Wars is going to be a really, almost like a bad way of like watching, I don't want to say it like that, but man, I just remember when the news was announced, it was like yesterday, so it's like, you have these time periods that we're just counting them down, and they just seem to be flying by, like, next thing we know, we're going to say we're under 200, and it's like, wow, man, like, life goes fast.
Yeah, man, once we start getting to the better weather and the summer hits, it's going to start flying, and then, of course, the fall comes, and that's the worst part. It's really that last 100 days from September until launch. That's really where it gets rough. Where every day feels like 24 long hours.
And who knows by that point how much news we're gonna have to speculate over too, you know.
Well, I imagine we're going to have a lot. Like, again, our biggest worry here every week is that we're not going to have enough enough news to fill a show. And yet, every single week, we have more than enough. And we end up going over 2 hours, and we say, how the hell did that happen? So maybe we can speed things along this week. 'Cause, again, it feels like there's not a lot going on right now, but lo and behold, I've got a full set of show notes here for us to plow through in the next couple hours. So I guess it would behoove us to get on with the show, right?
Let's behooves.
Let's behooves, man. Well, hey, let's catch up for a sec. James, how you doing, man?
You know, I'm doing really well, guys. I'm coming around the we noticed today that it was light early and light late, like 6 p.m. It wasn't fully dark out, and I don't know. That just makes things a whole lot better.
Well, until the time changes in a few weeks, right? And then we go right back into the dark. We plunge right back into darkness for a few more weeks.
Yeah, weather was nice too, though. Last couple of days in our neck of the woods. So I don't know. I find I'm not one of those people who's heavily weather affected in their personalities. Like some people really get seasonally depressed and stuff. But certainly, like everybody else, a couple of days of nice weather and I'm in a good mood.
Well, this is ridiculous. What we're getting this week. I mean, we should be right. We should be in the midst of like frozen tundra type stuff, the stuff of legend where you just don't want to step outside because, well, there's a frostbite warning that if your skin is exposed for 15 seconds, you're in trouble. Like we should be getting that right now.
Enough.
But no, it's going to be above freezing all week, and a lot of people listening are like, yeah, it's above freezing where I am too. Shut up, you dummy. But for us, above freezing at this time of year is hey, we may as well get the pool liners off and get in.
Yeah, it's kind of odd. But we've seen our fair share this winter, so come on, early spring, let's do this.
No, this has been the softest winter I can ever remember.
What? Really?
Oh, this has been a joke of a winter. Are you kidding me?
Last year was, I'd say this
Last year was cold, but we didn't get much snow.
I would rather this, man. I'd rather the abundance of snow and warmer temperatures.
Yeah, this hasn't been too bad.
And yet I keep running into people going, oh, I'm so fed up with this winter. Please let it end. What are you talking? How soft have you gotten? Unbelievable.
No, but it's true. James touched on something like a lot of people do get this. When it gets like this, they have a hard time coping with not getting enough sun and just being cooped up all the time. Like a lot of people do get depressed.
I'll take some vitamin D and shut up.
I like that.
There's Bell's new sponsor is Kyle Roussel.
Anyway, guys, it's that time where I need. Actually, you know what? I'm being rude. I gotta check in on my brother here. Corey, how you doing?
I'm doing actually pretty well, man. I had a really productive weekend. I took advantage of the warm weather. I built this awesome snow fort with my son. Like the tunnel and everything, man. It was a lot harder work than I had anticipated, but once I had started, I couldn't give up.
I
Then
saw
I went-
photo evidence, and it's pretty cool, Corey.
It was, man. It was fun. Just like the good old days. Like, I couldn't stop. And I also bought a buttload of toys, man.
You notice how
lot.
his voice, as soon as he started mentioning how he spent a lot of money, his voice gets really quiet because he doesn't want the missus
It's
to hear.
true. It's true because
I did notice that.
I was telling James earlier that like we have like
Listen to
there's
this.
there's an open door policy with our Facebook, right? So like I was gonna DM you the photos, like check this shit out, like, but no. Yeah, you gotta check them out, man. I bought seven Marvel Legend figures. I couldn't help myself, man.
James,
and I bought a whole bunch of those.
this is the sound of fear.
That is legitimate fear. He's like, guys, I bought 7 toys.
I live with her, but I don't know what to do with these toys.
They were pretty expensive, man. But it was whatever. I'm totally. I don't know what's come over me in the past couple months, but it's like, oof, it's bad. Gotta have them.
Like a rash?
Well,
Can't stop.
the first step to getting better is admitting you have a problem.
It's not a problem. I mean, whoops.
Oh, that happened early.
Yeah, sorry.
Yep. Here we go. It's not even. It's Monday, for God's sakes, and this is what we're getting.
Well, it's gotten pretty late at this point with our technical difficulties.
Well, technical difficulties should just be like an unwritten thing at this point. Just assume that we have them.
But just to wrap it all up, the cherry on top, man, was super nice. Like, I'd gone out a couple weeks ago, and my wife, like she met me in the toy section, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. This is so cool. So then on Sunday morning, like I get up, it was like 8:30, and I go downstairs, come back up, and she's like already dressed with the kid, and she's like, yeah, we're going shopping for a bit and whatever. And I'm like, okay, like whatever. She'll come pick you up later, and then when she gets back, like my kid's like, we got a surprise for you. She totally got me Django Fett, 6-inch. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I was like, this is awesome.
Now,
Just out
what
of
am I
the
going to
blue.
do with the one I already bought and have been hiding from you?
No, luckily. But that was pretty cool. I wanted it. Like, it was just really, like, I don't know, super nice. I was like, wow, totally made my weekend.
Well,
How can you send me a picture of those toys in a way that, like,
we want to see the pictures on Facebook, please.
not on Facebook, because I know you're not allowed to share them on Facebook. But is there a way for you to send them like via text, just so I can see the toys?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
I'll
cool.
send them. I'll send them one by one on Facebook.
He's going to take
We'll
pictures
figure
with film and mail them to your house.
We'll figure something out.
Oh man! All right. Again, so now it's that part of the show where I need to remind you about the Star Wars Podcast Awards. I don't know when the dates are, when the polling ends and the time to submit is really up. But head over there, StarWarsPodcastAwards.com. Vote for us for whatever sections you feel are appropriate for us, but especially for the best podcast network. Put in a good word for the Star Wars Commonwealth. And
Yeah, do that.
Do
I
that.
think it might be too late already, but if it isn't, go do that.
For somebody listening, it's going to be too late to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay, so guys, we got 2 reviews this week from people that we don't know at all.
Come on.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
That's good fun.
Yeah, and both of them kind of inspired by Corey, who seems to have left a mark on many a listener. So, the first 5-star review comes from one Cast 1973. No idea who that might be. Who says, literally, basically, an awesome Star Wars podcast. No loophole needed.
Nice.
Thank
Well
you,
done.
Cast 1973. Wink, wink. And the next review says, iconic as the scream from a TIE fighter.
Candido.
Nope. For a diverse range of show topics, nothing beats the Tumbling Saber podcast. They consistently drop quality show content on us week in, week out. If you want a show which delivers Star Wars knowledge with the humor only three partially drunk, hey, hockey loving Canadians.
We're all the way drunk.
On a Monday night. Hockey loving Canadians can deliver. This show is for you. If you want to connect with true fans on the other side of the world and chat about the space movie which shaped your life, this is the show for you. If you have a sibling that thinks they know Star Wars better than you, but secretly know he's a loon, and the only reason you let him be on your podcast is because your mom said to let him join in, this is the show for you. This show is truly for the fans, and the hosts allow much for fan interactivity. From the allurement of England's own Miss Grey, to the fantastic closing music of the talented Carlos Candido, James, Kyle, and the other one, along with Steve and Ads as guest hosts, welcome all fans as only true Star Wars fans do. In years to come, other podcasts will rise and fall. Many may find temporary fame. Many will be forgotten. But the Tumbling Saber will still be shining, held proudly aloft, blazing in the night sky for all fans, with three voices spreading Star Wars goodness, their weird accents as iconic as a TIE fighter's screaming engines in the vacuum of space.
Amazing.
That is
the best review all time.
That from our good friend, all the way from Newcastle, Australia, Matt Keegan. That is an epic review.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
This. I won't lie. This is probably going to be the high point of the show.
So, good night, everybody who's turning off now.
So, episode 63 of the Tumbling Saber podcast is in the books. Thank you all so much for listening. Yikes. So, guys, no, seriously, thank you, guys. Thank you, Cast 1973, wink, wink. And thank you, Matt Keegan from Australia, Newcastle. If anybody else wants to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, we will be glad to butcher it, as we just did. And that would be amazing. And it would be the high point of that show as well.
A high pint.
I know, high pint, right?
Literally.
Oh. Yeah, basically.
Jeez.
God. Are we ever going to do anything useful on the show?
No, I hope not.
Yeah, probably not.
I'm supposed to be useful all day long. I come here at night to be as unuseful as possible. Mission accomplished, James. Thank you, boys.
Our computers agree with us with all these technical difficulties. They probably all network together and say, what are these assholes doing?
I wonder if someone with a half of basic knowledge about computer operating system would watch us and just laugh and laugh and laugh at the problems we have. They must be simple problems. Like, we don't even know how we fixed the problem we just had. It just stopped being a problem, right? Like, nobody fixed anything. It just worked.
That's computers, man. That's what I'm going with. That's computers.
Yeah.
I have actually a story way back. I mean, this is before the year 2000. This is before the millennium, man. I was in school taking like a real basic HTML course. This is like beginner stuff. And I'd done a bunch of code, and it was just to put like an image, a background color, and some text on a page with some links. Really nothing spectacular. And so I would put the code in, and I would check the browser and see what was the result. And it was all messed up. And I couldn't figure it out. I was looking over the code line by line, and I said, I can't find the mistake. It looks right to me. I called over the teacher, and I'm like, can you find the mistake? And he looked, and he's like, no. And he kept hitting F5 for refresh, and it wasn't working. I don't get it. Save, hit F5. Still looked the same. Still messed up. So I really don't get it. Then for just shits and giggles, I hit F5 one more time, and it popped up, and it looked fine. He said, oh. He goes, oh, you know what? This happens from time to time, and that's computers. And I've adopted that saying ever since. Hey, look, I never said it was going to be useful on this show, so another non-Star Wars tangent. But anyway, we'll veer closer to Star Wars with this. Did you guys check out Part 4 of Josh Gad versus Daisy Ridley?
Yeah.
I watched part 4 first, actually. I got the tweet this afternoon from Corey, and I said, I got to check this out. I kept putting it off, so I watched that one first. And yeah, man, that was really hilarious.
It was really good.
Certainly Pratt was the funniest part.
just pimping all his Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
I can answer this. I'm in Avengers.
No, he was the whole thing. I mean, the things just escalated from just the two of them to adding Dame Judi Dench, who was a good sport about it, and then to adding virtually the rest of Hollywood, including J.J. Abrams, who was totally in on it. That was amazing.
Yeah, that was so funny. Like right at the end too.
Her face at the end, like that smirk, or she's sort of like just couldn't keep it in, and then they cut. I don't know, that's something very endearing about that smile.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I had the whole time, like through the first two for sure, I couldn't figure out if she was just really being annoyed by the whole thing, or if she was in on it and just putting on a good acting job. And by the end, she was just having so much trouble keeping it together, I think, that you knew that without beyond a shadow of a doubt that she was just going along with it. So who was in that scene? Abrams was there, Penelope Cruz, Chris Pratt.
Penelope Cruz. I had to get my wife to translate because I don't speak Spanish.
Does your wife speak Spanish?
Enough to translate. That for me.
All I heard was Snoke.
Yeah. She was asking about him a little bit. Quick Star Wars non-tangent, since that's what we do. When I met Em, I told her that I spoke Spanish fluently, and she was taking like basic Spanish lessons at the time, and so she didn't want to she was intimidated by my fluent Spanish, so she wouldn't speak Spanish with me.
And you were lying the whole time.
Yeah, I learned like 2 or 3 phrases and like put on the best accent I could and convinced her with just a couple phrases that she didn't want to try to take me on in Spanish. It lasted for a while too.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, thank you.
And so okay, so that I mean that was social media gold, what Josh Gad and Daisy Ridley pulled off. And
so you do think that she was in on it?
Yeah, well, yeah. By the end, I still think that maybe the first one she was not in on it, and it just turned into a thing after that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't know, maybe because I watched them backwards, but to me it seems like she was in on it right from the beginning.
It's possible.
Yeah, I mean she's clearly a good enough actress to make the whole thing seem believable. I could definitely swing either way on that one. But I mean, in the first two, she really, really did seem like she was genuinely aggravated by the line of questioning.
She did. She definitely did.
But it was definitely worth our time. And even if they were all in on it, good for them, because this is what we wanted, right? We want them to have fun with us while we wait between these movies.
Well, yeah. Look, it's the leading thing we're talking about on the show this week.
Yeah, it was supposed to be just a passing note, but we're getting all wrapped up in it. It was fantastic, though. Well, I think it's well worth talking about. Only, it's what, a combined maybe 4 minutes of talk on those little Instagram clips or wherever they originated from. I bet you we could probably do a half hour just on those clips.
Oh, we could blow that up into a whole 2-hour show. Come on. We'd have 75 tangents in there.
Oh, man. I dare I say challenge accepted? No.
Yeah.
No.
A 2.5. We'll do a 63.5.
Okay, guys. So last week, James, you weren't here, but me and Corey did a little tiny piece on the Rogue One dropping on DVD. There was an Australian retailer who had given a date of April 5th, and so I just did some basic research by looking at a calendar.
Oh, I listened, and the 5th doesn't fall on a Tuesday. Come on, guys.
And I said...
I listened to the show just because I wasn't on.
All right. I this is an amateur hour, so, got to bring people up to speed. So I think I said on the show, don't be surprised if at some point it's reverted to Tuesday, April 4th. At least I'm pretty sure I said that. If I didn't,
You
I
did say that.
I did. Okay, good. Well,
You weren't nearly as eloquent the first time around, but you've had a week to practice, and now you said it perfectly.
well, there we go. And I did. I rehearsed over and over all week and wait for this show. But it turns out that April 4th is indeed the date that we're going to get Rogue One on Blu-ray. That I think Star Wars Newsnet dug up another report that Best Buy has it on their site that it will be April 4th. So I'm still considering taking that day off. I don't know. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I sent out a feeler over the DM machine, so I hope that didn't get you in trouble, Corey, over Facebook there. But should we like all take the half day off and go and
Do our commentary?
yeah.
Is that something people want to hear? We'll put it to the people. If we get more than a couple of people who say, "God damn it, you do it," then I think we might be doing it.
Yeah, I think we should. Even if only we want to hear it. I hope somebody says they do, but I think we should do it anyways, just because it gives us. It's always nice to sort of change the routine. Even when we don't record on a Sunday, like today's a Monday night, it's cool to do it differently. I think that would give a different energy. Also, on top of that, we could give it a spin. Like, we don't have to do a straight up commentary. We could like maybe approach it from an angle of like, let's look for signs of future clues they're giving us, and we can talk about that as we see it. Just do a commentary with an approach.
Yeah, we could do that. We can take votes from the crowd. What do they want us to do with a Rogue One commentary?
Yeah, there you go.
We may regret putting that to the people, but there we go.
Yeah, they may not understand the question. We'll have to be very specific.
Wait a minute, are you saying Star Wars fans don't understand clearly phrased questions?
I wouldn't have thought that before, but someone's been putting these ideas in my head.
Well, I don't even think the question needs to be asked. I mean, the clear answer is drink.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Anyway, so Lucasfilm has yet to give confirmation that April 4th is in fact the day, but I would venture a guess that the Star Wars show, 3 p.m. Eastern this Wednesday, I am going to guess that they will confirm it then and there. So keep your eyes peeled there, and we'll probably get a few more minutes out of this topic on next week's show. And now we can go on to some actual real, semi-real news. So Jimmy V, a little person, has taken over the role of R2-D2 in The Last Jedi. And so I say, good for him. Welcome to the rest of your life, Jimmy V. But I think that we need to clear up some confusion on this topic, because something about this seemed a little bit off to me, because I remember seeing something about this guy a couple years ago. So wait a minute, I thought this guy was already confirmed as playing R2. And sure enough, there were some people on the web saying the same thing. And an old news piece had come up from, I think it was, well back in 2015. And Jimmy V was at Skellig Michael filming The Last Jedi way back when. So what's the deal? He was already there, so why is the confirmation now? And the only thing I can think of, because I don't think Lucasfilm or anybody has actually confirmed the reason for it, but all I can think of is that this just confirms that Jimmy V is the permanent long-term replacement for R2, whereas before, maybe he was just on a one-contract picture for, a one-picture contract for The Last Jedi, but now it seems like he might be R2 until he's not going to be R2 anymore. So that's my thought. Anybody have anything else or a different spin they might have?
No, that's crazy what you said. That doesn't make any sense. No, it must be that. Obviously, if they're making an announcement that the role is his, that's sort of different than casting him in the movie. And maybe they were waiting to, who knows, if they had to sign. Like, do you think he's inked now for likeness? Like, that's the kind of thing I think about now when I think about these characters signing on for lots of movies. Is like, are they signing away their soul for likeness and CGI? And although I know his character is exceptional in that you'll never see him personally, but I always wonder about the contractual mess that they must be signing away now. The lawyers that get involved with like who owns the CGI version of you for the future, you know?
Yeah, geez, you would just like to give somebody a handshake and sign on the line that you'll be paid X amount for doing this amount of work between these dates, and it would be that simple. But man, it must be page after page after page of stipulations and other things that you're beholden to. Media appearances. So. Oh God, what a mess.
Yeah, for sure. Late night circuit, like talk shows.
Yeah, all of it. But yes, I agree with you that it's probably just the fact that they didn't make an official announcement because it hadn't been decided he was staying on long term, and now it is.
Yeah, that's what makes most sense to me.
Yeah, that's the only thing that really makes sense to me. Like, I was under the assumption that someone was just recycling an old story that just never really got picked up before. But maybe it's the case that, yeah, he's the long-term guy. But again, that's kind of a bit weird to me. Like, I don't want to kind of say it this way, but 57 is kind of young. But what does that say about the guy playing R2? Like, how many years is someone like that going to want to get crammed into a robot, you know? And, like, play that role.
Who knows? I mean, I don't remember seeing any details, but it could be just a few movie deal, or it could be a long term thing until they stop making movies,
or until R2 stops being in movies.
Oh, don't say that, Corey. Don't say that. All right, guys. So, hey, congrats to Jimmy V. I'm sure he knows what he's in for, but he's gonna have to get his wrist muscles limbered up because I think he's gonna be signing a lot of autographs on the convention circuit in the years to come.
Yeah, I think congrats to Jimmy V, and also congrats to Matt Keegan for that really awesome review. I just thought that needed to be mentioned again.
So good, I might have to read it again after and not butcher it. Okay, so guys, 2 weeks ago we talked about The Last Jedi, the title, and everybody had different takes, but now apparently some foreign language title cards have given us some clarity in that The Last Jedi, the translation means that The Last Jedi is actually in plural form.
So Vive la France!
Yeah, the French one said Les Derniers Jedi. So, Corey, I'm going to kick it over to you first. Do you care to revise your thoughts at all on what you thought the title actually meant?
I don't know. It could just be something that's maybe lost in translation, but Jedi already is plural, so either way, it doesn't really blow my mind. Like in French, again, like if they said Le Dernier Jedi, it's like,
well, that would be incorrect.
What do you mean? You'd just be saying it's one guy, or if you say like La, like you're implying feminine, right? So it's either masculine, 1, 2. So they went with Le Dernier Jedi, like.
No. Jedi, that's not how French works. Where do you live, Corey? The word is either masculine or feminine. It doesn't matter if it's a male or female Jedi.
Yeah, but when you do it, like you're not going to say Le, like it's Le is man and La is female, no?
No, like, that's not how the French language works. The word is either masculine or feminine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's
I don't know. I read that earlier.
I'm not going to get into this argument with you, but it could never be. I don't know if Jedi is masculine or feminine. I'm going to assume it's probably a masculine word, so it's Le Jedi. Even if you're talking about her, it's Le Jedi.
I don't know.
There's our language debate for this week.
A Quebec language debate? No. Well, James, do you have any new thoughts on this? Because I think you had. I think when we first tackled this, did you think it was plural?
I didn't. It's not that I thought it was, but I was certainly open to the idea. I knew that was a possibility. Like that came up pretty quick when the title hit. Everybody was like, "Oh, it could be plural."
No, I think James, you had a bit of a meltdown when it came out. You're like, "I'm done with Star Wars." Like Luke's
I did have a meltdown.
You're like, "There's no more
like, they're leaving the Jedi behind, and I don't want any part of it." I did have a meltdown, but I was open to the idea that it could be plural. It's funny. I read a lot of tweets this week, mostly Commonwealth stuff, and at first when I heard it was plural, I thought, well, Kanan and Ezra live, or at least one of them does. And so now there's at least a couple of Jedi floating around the galaxy. But then after reading a bunch of tweets from Commonwealthers, you guys talked me out of the idea that they're going to bring a cartoon character to the big screen as part of a big reveal, just because for fan inclusion. So yeah, I don't know if globally it changes what I think, knowing that it's a plural title. I'm not sure what I thought in the first place.
Yeah, well, I thought that, the simplest explanation was probably the likeliest, that The Last Jedi was a story about Luke, given what we saw in the opening crawl and what we heard Snoke say in the movie. But I don't know, maybe that's just not the case anymore. And I guess it could then be a bunch of different things. This could be including Rey. Like, even though she's not by title a Jedi, maybe she's not even by title a Padawan at this point. Just by virtue of her training with Luke and going down that path, maybe she's being lumped in as a Jedi.
I would have to assume it refers to him and Rey, if it's going to be plural.
Or there's the theory that maybe Luke is not alone on that island.
Yeah, I've heard that theory.
He might have some flatmates there in his little hut.
Did all of his what do we know what happened, like when Kylo Ren attacked his apprentices, his school? Like, do we know they were all killed?
We know nothing.
Unless the screenplay or novelization spells out that everybody was killed, I don't know of any confirmation of that. I know that in TFA, Han Solo says that one of his students, a young boy, destroyed it all. Does that mean everybody died? I don't think it necessarily means that.
Because a lot of people are assuming that the Knights of Ren may be like ex-students, right? Converted.
That is a theory.
So if some went bad, maybe some stayed with Luke and are hiding on his island. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just spitballing some of the ideas I've heard. That title means anything's possible, I guess.
Could it be that we will get more detailed flashbacks or forcebacks, as it were, to the slaughter of Luke's academy, and so the story will focus a little bit more on those last group of Jedi at Luke's academy, and that's The Last Jedi? I would think that's maybe a bit weak if you're going to name the movie after characters in a flashback, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
Or how about this for out there theory? Like, the reason why Luke is on Act 2 is to find the Last Jedi. Like, maybe, okay, Rey finds him, but maybe he knows that being there, like, he'll be able to find, like, a whole bunch more somewhere. Like
that island's like the Cerebro of the Jedi universe?
Or maybe, like, it gives him access to, like, basically a planet that's kind of off the charts that only he finds it, and lo and behold, there's, like, thousands of Jedi islands, like Planet Jedi, kind of,
Oh, someone just was watching a 3-story arc.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, if all those birds that we see are the convoys, I don't know what they're called.
Convoys.
Gotta imagine those birds heavily play into what's going on.
I don't know, by the way. I'm just taking a guess that it's convoys.
Yeah, it is convoys.
Well, you sounded confident, and that's really the trick.
I sounded confident before when I admonished Corey, but I was wrong. I wrote it down, and I'm like, oh no, it would be La Dernière Jedi if it was a girl for sure. So.
Wow. Wow. And the stern reprimand I got there too. I was like, I don't even want to talk to you, Corey. You're so stupid.
Oh, I didn't say stupid. I might have said iconic, but I didn't say stupid.
No, you I know what you said.
Oh, let's not get into that debate again. So I mean, this is a bit of a merry-go-round, right? With the Last Jedi thing. It's either Luke or it's Luke and Rey. Some people think Kylo might factor into that conversation, and some people go as far as to say Snoke is part of that discussion. I can't see that happening.
It's so hard. I could see anything happening. Honestly, I could see. I know what you mean. I don't think that's likely, but I don't know. I just can't. Every time we think we've ruled something out, like we were pretty confident it's probably singular and it's probably Luke, and it's, you know, the simplest answer is usually the truth. But I don't know, man.
Well, I think another important thing to take into consideration is the fact that we haven't really heard that much, or we know we're not really dealing with the Sith, right? Or like, is Kylo Ren aspiring to be like a Sith Lord?
It would be weird if he isn't, even though like all indications point away from the Sith. Like I think people have come out and specifically said like he's not a Sith and Snoke's not a Sith, and
so that's it. So that's kind of
it's weird that he wants to be Darth Vader so badly.
Conversation, though, I think there might be layers to that, and you're right, James. He is trying to copy Vader so badly that, you know, maybe from Kylo's perspective, he thinks he's a Sith in training, or maybe he thinks he's a full-on Sith. But maybe from, you know, a storyteller approach, they're saying, because I think it was Pablo Hidalgo who a couple of years ago said, nope, Snoke and Kylo are not Sith. But that doesn't rule out Kylo believing he's a Sith.
Yeah, who knows? Or he's not a Sith because he wasn't a Sith yet when Pablo said it, but he's, you know, training to be a Sith. Who knows?
Like, I'm on board with Snoke not being a Sith, and never was, never wants to be.
Well, two there must be. Come on. Well, then who's training him? How could Kylo be one?
Well, maybe Kylo just thinks he's one, but Kylo, I think, is going to be wrong about a lot of things. Because he's a doofus.
I'm really hoping Benicio has a hand in his training. Just for not only story's sake, but for actor's sake, I think he would just nail that role with like eyes that he has, man. Like, it would be so evil.
I mean, yeah, Adam Driver has been just amazing so far, and I have no doubt that he'll continue to be superb as Kylo Ren. He's just he put on the air of being conflicted so well. It was so convincing. But anyway, I don't really have a lot new to add to this, the Last Jedi bit about it being plural. It's, you know, it's Rey and Luke. I refuse to believe that Kylo's going to be a Jedi. I'm not buying into Kylo's redemption. I'm not. No.
I think that's got to come in here. It's going to come into play at one point, I would think, Kyle, one way or another. Maybe not in this movie, but...
Yeah, one movie from now, you're going to be changing him too. Even if he's not redeemed, they're going to at least have to, like, feign at his redemption.
Okay.
For dramatic tension, you know?
Sacrifice!
Does that not cut too close to Anakin's story? And I know the whole poetry rhyming thing that Lucas does, and I'm sure that to a certain point, the people in charge now want to honor that and continue that trend to a degree. But man, oh man, to have... God, I'm just struggling so much with the idea even of Kylo coming around and being redeemed. I don't want to have to forgive this guy.
Well, that's why they're going to make you do it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I mean, there is something to be said about challenging your audience, right?
No doubt.
And if you wanted to segue into your next topic, Kyle, like, just remember what we were touching about upon, was it that war theory, basically the clone theory of Vader and Rey? Like, just imagine that reveal. I still think about that sometimes. Like, if Rey were to find out, like, what she is, if she is a clone of Vader, and she's up against Kylo again, and, you know, he's talking to her, trying to, like, just fill her head with garbage, and, like, she can tell him, like, no, like, I am Darth Vader, you know? It could be a complete role reversal in that regard. Like, Kylo can start realizing, like, oh my god, like, my life is a joke, like, everything I know is a lie.
My life is a joke.
Well, whatever, like...
Make him sound like a meth junkie in an alley.
But kind of like everything I've been told is a lie, more or less, you know?
But then we feel bad for him.
Well,
Carl
that's it.
doesn't
The
want to feel bad
redemption
for him.
part.
I don't know. I don't want
I
to feel
know.
bad for him ever. He's a jerk. He's a bad person. Anyway, so let's stick on the Kylo and Rey thing for a few more minutes here. So apparently Lucasfilm has maybe possibly accidentally confirmed a mysterious connection between Rey and Kylo. And somebody at Heroic Hollywood, I think, did some digging and found out that the Star Wars databank was sneakily, quietly, covertly updated, both the entry for Kylo and Rey. They were both kind of reworded to give us the idea that perhaps something sneaky is going on with these two characters. And so I'll try and find the passage here, which I'm probably not going to be able to do.
From the movie?
The databank entry on StarWars.com for each of those two characters. They were both reworded, rewritten, revised, whatever you want to say, to hint at a mysterious connection between the two characters. So I'm wondering, what is this connection? What do they possibly share? So in the novel and screenplay, I've mentioned this a bunch of times on the show, that there's hints that Kylo knows who she is in The Force Awakens. And he reacts violently when he finds out that Finn and BB-8 had help from a girl in escaping Jakku.
That struck me from the first viewing.
Me too. It was one of the first things. I even remember talking with you guys like right after the movie and being like, that was significant. Like he knew that girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it was kind of it was a really bad reaction to a very simple reveal, right? And so yeah, without reading both of their entries, they both contain wording now that wasn't there previously, that hints at a connection, some sort of bond between the two. So the easy connection is a blood relation that we don't yet know. James, I think
The clone theory, too, that kind of falls into that category.
How does what's the connection?
If she's a
to
clone
Kylo?
of, like if she's a clone of Vader, she's kind of his grandfather.
Which would be so messed up.
Exactly.
That is so messed up.
Has anybody proposed that she could be a clone of him?
A Kylo clone?
Yeah.
Not that I've seen. You're me. I'm you. You'd almost need Keanu Reeves to read that. Whoa.
No way.
What number am I thinking right now? Maybe I think maybe possibly, again, the simplest explanation is that they've been sharing the same Force visions. Like they've been seeing each other in each other's Force visions.
No, that kind of rings wrong to me because, when Rey's Force vision at Maz's castle is like no other Force vision I've ever witnessed in like animated series or anything like that. But
have you witnessed others?
Well, yeah, there's Ezra has a few in season 1. They're just not. They're intense, but like they're not like that was intense, like totally and completely interactive. So her reaction to that was very like, whoa, like get me out of here, like I'm done with this. Like, whoa, no. That's true, man. She just bolted.
Well, yeah, she did, but again, that doesn't mean that Kylo hasn't been having the same visions and struggling with them.
I mean, but to me, it seems like that was her first vision. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, having that reaction, like.
Well, as far as we know, it's her first. She could have had other, much more subtle ones that maybe didn't spook her. Could it be even something even more meta than that? Because there was an early rumor. I have no idea how legitimate this is, but it has Luke explaining the first Jedi to Rey, and it was a brother and sister who became force powered by living near or with or just touching this really powerful tree. And so, do you think Rey and Kylo are somehow next generation embodiments of this brother sister duo?
Wow.
I don't see him as being as powerful as her, to be honest. There's another thing he says to her too in the movie when she calls the Skywalker saber to herself and flies right by his head. Like, he looks at her and he says, "It is you." So, like,
Right, that's from the screenplay or the novel, right? I think it's the novel.
I'm not sure. Like, I read it in the thing, but like, you could tell in his face there, like, there's something going on between these two. Like, I think it's either, like, you kind of said it. I don't think they're sharing Force visions, but he may have had plenty of her, or he might have been involved in dropping her off on Jakku all those years ago and keeping that secret for like another 10 years or so.
No, didn't we figure out the time-wise that doesn't work? Wouldn't he still been like training?
Well, that's it. That's what I said. Like, he can still drop her off and go back to Luke and then like have to carry that burden, let that eat away from him within him for like keep that secret for 10 years. What he did no one else knows, you know? It would be a good segue, entryway into the dark side kind of too.
How old would he have been when he did that? If she's 4, he's like what, 7? Or
No,
10?
he's like 10 years older than her, so he would have been like 14.
Well, that's before we knew anything about Bloodline, right? That's when we assumed that Kylo Ren trashed the Academy when Rey was that little 5 or 6-year-old girl, which would have put Kylo as like a 16-year-old. That's what we'd assumed this whole time. But then once Bloodline came out, we realized that, Jesus, it's not even close to that. It can't possibly be that, unless Kylo snagged her, solely took her away, and flew her to Jakku.
Well, that's what I kind of mean. If he had a vision of her and, like, if he's a powerful Jedi and, he sees this girl and he knows that somehow in the back of his mind, he knows that somehow she's going to mess up his life, like, but he's got big plans, right? Like, that could be his dirty little secret.
Yeah, I mean, everybody heavily suspected that that's exactly what Rey was. She was his dirty little secret, that he was supposed to have killed her and he didn't, and now she's come back to haunt him. I suppose there's still the door's open a crack for that to be somehow true, and then maybe the look on Luke's face when he finally sees her again is, "Oh my God, you're alive." When all this time maybe he figures that she'd been dead. I don't know. All I can say is that they've got us, man.
That's for sure.
They've really got us. I have no clue what this is going to be.
I hope it's really well done. I hope it's not just like, oh man. I think they do. They feel quite confident anyway. From what I can tell, they seem quite confident in the story they have for us.
But one last thing before we move on is, I thought that rumor about Luke explaining the first 2 Jedi, and that Force tree, and I look at that, and then you look at the title of the movie called The Last Jedi. I think there's something cool going on there, perhaps, where you have the origins of the first Jedi in a movie called The Last Jedi. There's something cool there, right? So
he's talking about like the title is in reference to the last time these guys tried being Jedi, kind of deal. No?
Maybe maybe it all ties together somehow in that way. I'll let you figure that out, Corey.
I hope I get an advanced screening.
Well, I'm sure if you just ask, they'll let you do it.
Right.
That whole tree thing sounds very 2 Trees of Valinor or Lord of the Rings. Possibly like inspired Lucas to write that, or whoever came up with that idea.
Ryan Johnson, I guess, would have written it and help in consult with J.J. Abrams and probably a few other people. I'm sure.
But isn't that storyline an old idea? Like I remember reading this a few months ago, but didn't the idea of like two moons?
There was a
like,
comic about it. No, Kyle? There was like, I haven't read it yet, but wasn't it, it was Luke Skywalker and a female that's the Poe's mother, no?
Right, in Shattered
Yeah.
Empire. In Shattered Empire, that he kind of cares for I think was it the last Force-sensitive tree.
I think it's like a piece of that original tree, kind of just, like,
Yeah, no, I
you
think you're
kinda,
right.
like,
Yeah.
like take a piece of a tree and then regrow it, and
Yeah, and he
think they call
gives
that
it to her. He
cloning.
gives it to Shara Bay, who is Poe's mom. I got to read that again. That was a good series. All right, moving on. I don't have anything else to say about this mysterious connection. I just want to know what it is. Pains me to wait
Of course you do.
297 more days. It's gonna kill me.
and even at that, you might not find out still.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. We're definitely not gonna get all the answers to the questions that we have in The Last Jedi. They're gonna
Like, it really seems like it was this, but
Yeah, maybe Luke gave Kylo the order to kill Rey, and when he sees her, he's like, "Oh, you're alive? What the hell?"
God, wouldn't that be something? Oh my God. That would shatter all of our illusions, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
Oh man, that would immediately put us in a place of severe conflict with Luke, because this whole time we think that Luke is just this borderline saint, right? And if he had done something like that, man, that changes that.
That would turn everything on its head.
Oh yeah, because we want to believe that Luke is just pure good now, right? The idea that Luke has actually got a very, very dirty secret, that would be tough.
I don't know. I have a very different version of Luke in my head. Like, I think he aspired to be pure good and when building the academy. But when all that fell apart, like, I really feel like he was searching something else. And being on Act 2, like, I think he's not that same Jedi, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, something like that would change anybody, I would think. And of course, if he holds himself responsible for what happened to all of his little Padawans, then, man, yeah, of course, he probably feels terrible.
But I think it brought him to a breaking point, saying like, okay, like something needs to change. Like, I got to rethink this whole Jedi thing, like.
Well, he would have to. I mean, if all of his students were gone, it would, and it's down to him again. Except he's 32 years older than the last time that it was just down to him. Then yeah, he's got to rethink how he's going to do this. I got to imagine that he scraped the bottom of the barrel putting together that academy, and now that he's
Not only that,
he's
I'm
at an
not saying that,
advancing
but
age, right? He's not going to want to do it again.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying what it is to be a Jedi.
Yeah,
Like
that, even that too. Like, does he want to do it? Does he feel like the way that he was doing it is the right way, or does that need to change too?
Yeah, that's more what I'm saying.
I don't buy into that. I don't buy into like these. The Jedi are more than just soldiers, and to me, they were always like monks. And the idea that like when the going gets tough, they're like, oh, you know what? I'm abandoning my beliefs and the beliefs of generations and generations of my like. That doesn't make sense to me. Like, oh, this is wrong. This didn't work. So like, I don't know. I just don't buy that. That doesn't fit the dogma for me.
No, there is something that rings true about what you're saying, James. There is something odd about that. Well, I tried. I failed. That's it. I'm going to punch my card, and I'm going to just go retire at the little Seabreeze Hotel on Act 2.
Yeah, there's got to be more to it for me.
No, what I think is that we've said it before in the past is I think he's on Act 2 to kind of gain old information as to what it was to be a Jedi. Not like, it's 25,000 years. There's bound to get lost in time. Like, it's been, what, not even in both movies, 10, 15 years. Oh, are Jedi actually real? Like, are you kidding me? Like, it's true, all of it? So, picture 25,000 years. Like, I'm sure, and like we'd said before, like, for not doing anything for 1,000 years, like, you could kind of get complacent, like, I don't think the Jedi knew it all. I think there was other ways of looking at the Force that are probably more beneficial.
Yeah, you know what's you just called something to my attention that to me is a huge. Has this been complained a lot about, that Han Solo line? Like the fact that Han Solo doesn't really believe, because like really with the prequels that doesn't make any sense. The history of the galaxy would show that the Jedi were a pretty real thing.
Oh, you mean the mumbo jumbo, and then Han in A New Hope not believing it?
Yeah.
You know what? I think that's a case of the new group of writers trying to kind of write themselves out of a corner a little bit, because it never sat well with me either that the Jedi were kind of all over the galaxy and it certainly left their mark, but yet how fast after the Order 66 where the Jedi kind of wiped clean from the galaxy and everybody, now what's a Jedi? I don't know. That took like almost no time for the Jedi to pass into legend. So I see a bit of that in the propaganda book where they go to their way to say that the Jedi intentionally avoided being mentioned in publicly. They tried to stay hidden. They tried to stay away from all kind of public affairs. They were kind of
like a monk.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of awkwardly meshes together. Like here they are sitting in this really huge tower on Coruscant, in the middle of the core of the galaxy. Yet nobody knows who they are. Like a lot of this doesn't mesh to me. Like I know once the Empire took over, they purged the Jedi Temple. They purged all the records, and so people sort of, and again, they make it seem like there's so many planets out there. And there are, but there's so many worlds that had never even seen a Jedi or never even encountered one that it was easy for a big chunk of the galaxy's population to say, "What's a Jedi? I've never seen one before."
Now that's partially true. Had it not been for the Clone Wars, though, like everyone knew that the Clone Wars were like it must have been a huge thing for the entire galaxy, and people at this point in A New Hope are still feeling the repercussions of that war. So in that sense, they would have heard and remembered the Jedi. But in the policing term, Jedi are kind of few and far between. Like I would think if you and I were living in a planet that was part of that galaxy, like we might be lucky enough to see a Jedi maybe once in action, or
well, yeah, but hang on. Before his adventures, how much traveling, how worldly do you think little Annie was? Because he knew what a Jedi was. No one can kill a Jedi.
That's true.
But he could have been having Force visions himself.
Yeah, but maybe he was, but that came out in conversation like that was just common knowledge, like.
Because he even calls out to Qui-Gon on his laser sword.
So it's like common knowledge, like a generation before.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying the whole thing lines up super well. It's one of those things that they've had to kind of write around. And
anyway,
while we're talking about stuff like
tangent.
That, what, Corey?
Just while we're talking about stuff like that, quick tangent. Really unfair mysteries, and another mind boggler. Like, I get it, okay? Yoda, we don't know what species he is. We still don't. That was always cool. Like, I love that. But to this day, it's kind of been negated by Yaddle. Like, yeah, you introduce Yaddle into the prequels. Now, there's got to be records of these guys somewhere. There's 2 of them now. They're not just like, well, we don't know where we came from.
Maybe they don't like to talk about it.
Well, come on. Okay, it got lost in the purge of records or whatever, but still, no one knows. You should have just left Yoda as a single kind of guy.
Well, I think there's a reason why Yaddle showed up very briefly in episode 1 and then never again. It's like, okay, you know what? Get her out of here. She poses too many inconvenient questions like this. Get her out. Anything else?
No. Moving on. I want to get resolution to that whole Kylo thing too. But the connection, I'm down with it.
Yeah, it's, well, I mean, even if you didn't think anything, even if you didn't read news or rumors, you would have walked out of The Force Awakens saying, there's a connection, there's some kind of connection between those two. At least I think. Okay, so some light spoilers possibly for The Last Jedi. So making Star Wars, doing what they do, bringing news to us starved fans, and they had a couple things actually in the last couple weeks, but we'll touch on one of them here quickly. It's about a new planet that we're going to meet, possibly in The Force Awakens, in The Last Jedi, and it was described as more or less Mars with snow on it. So I can imagine a very barren, reddish landscape with patches of snow, which is something we've not yet seen in Star Wars. But it seems like something that would really match, and it's been said that this might be the First Order's stronghold. But I think this is a good place to maybe talk a little bit about planets in Star Wars very quickly, and how they stand in as visual indicators of a tone of either a scene or a movie as a whole. And so I look at Tatooine. It's a very barren, desolate place. Same with Hoth. Same with Jakku. They're just hopeless, desperate places that you'd only go to unless you were like at the end of your rope, right? Dagobah, on the other hand, is murky, foggy. It's mysterious. It's full of life, but you can't quite figure it out. Ahch-To, it's primal, natural, and tranquil, which kind of maybe alludes a little bit to what Luke is getting back to. So this new world, Mars with snow on it, would kind of sound right as far as personifying the First Order as again this really cold, unfeeling organization, right, Corey?
No, I totally agree. Jason Ward actually kind of written something about this in his article about colors and emotions in Star Wars, and it's true. It's always these colors. They're so prominent. You know what I mean? In like when you go somewhere, it's like white. Like sand is like beige or whatever. You know, like it's just everything's so like bright in the screen. It's I love the change. Like Mustafar, like the emotions really do play into the scenery. But if it is a Mars like landscape and it is red, like we're to assume, then totally perfect for the First Order.
James, do you have any thoughts on this place?
Not a lot to add to that. I agree that like definitely you set the tone, set the stage by introducing these planets, and setting them to the characters or the personalities of sort of the people who are from there. So yeah, cold, like you said, cold and harsh. It sort of sounds like maybe like Cobra and Destro would set up base on this planet, which is appropriate.
Yeah.
Cobra Commander and I could just see them in this like frozen fortress. I feel like I've seen it already.
Yeah, absolutely, I could. There was a set photo. Making Star Wars also had that. It looked what it appeared to be the cockpit of a B-wing, and it was sort of parked on this rig in the Bolivian salt flats, which leads everyone to believe that maybe these salt flats in Bolivia are a bit of a stand-in for this new First Order planet. And of course, if we think back to The Force Awakens, who traveled around in a B-wing but Princess Leia? So I'm going to reach here and put a couple pieces, very loose strands together here, and wonder if maybe Leia would fly to this planet to maybe confront Kylo. And I wonder now if actually they would follow through with that, given what's happened with Carrie Fisher. But I would have thought that maybe that kind of confrontation would have been an Episode 9 thing. But again, I'm taking one very static shot of what might be a B-wing on the salt flats and turning it into something that it's not. So, if you guys want to go way too far along with me, feel free.
No, that's pretty cool.
I'll get him the B-wing for the ride. I mean, it's not as iconic as the TIE, but it could be one day.
It grew on me as a kid. I have to say, was the B-wing was just like meh, okay, whatever. But after having seen that episode of Rebels, like man, that's like it quickly rose the ranks, man. Like it's so fast, agile, powerful. Like I want one.
I want one. Well, the modified B-wing that Leia flies around in The Force Awakens, that's a piece of junk. That's probably the ugliest ship in all of Star Wars. Am I alone on that?
I'm not even recalling the ship.
Well, whatever ship, like it's a modified B-wing transport thing. Like that is one butt ugly ship. Ugh. I
don't understand how they keep saying that there's kinds of ships that don't photograph well in real life. Like I don't understand how none of it's real life. It's all CGI. So I don't like they're not building these ships for real. I know maybe they're using models. I don't think they are using much modeling, but maybe they are. So
back in the day, like that was the problem. Back in the day was the modeling factor.
But today, like they're saying, like I think it's the U-wing. They said like they're having a hard time getting to look right. Is that the one?
No, the B-wing they had a hard time like you never really saw it in Jedi because it was hard because of the model aspect. But now with like you said CGI, like let's
should be able to do anything and make it look right. No,
there should have been a lot more B-wing in Rogue One. Like that could have taken down that shield generator or whatever, man. Like get 3
They're
B-wings
fine. They had
on
hammerheads.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have. Yeah, I would definitely like to see more B-wings. I get why in Return of the Jedi they were only in like 2 shots, but since then, they should be more ubiquitous by this point. So you guys have a favorite planet in Star Wars, or least favorite for that matter?
I think Dagobah is probably my most favorite, just because it seems so. I read this really like cheesy teen novel when I was a kid called The Lord of the Green Planet, and it's like about this sort of human guy who crashes on this crazy planet that's a lot like Dagobah, and whatever has adventures, meets a beautiful human like princess and blah blah blah. But I don't know, because of like Star Wars and that book hitting me both in my like formative years or whatever, I've always been really into Dagobah as a planet.
I like that choice too. It almost comes to my mind first too, because it just seems so laden with the Force and what we know of the Force. It just seems like a mystical place, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll let you know what I think of Naboo in a couple of weeks.
That's right. That's right. You're gonna be there in a couple of weeks. Lucky guy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, for as crappy as a place as it is, just the scenes on Tatooine, specifically in A New Hope, just scream Star Wars to me.
It's very Star Warsy for sure. And if the question was like, where would I most want to live? That definitely wouldn't be my first answer.
Oh God,
Seems
no.
pretty harsh.
No, Naboo
like,
with a bullet for me.
Yeah, or maybe where were we just visiting there in Rogue One?
Scarif?
Yeah, if we could just go back in time a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think life there would be too bad either, assuming that there's a non-imperial controlled city there.
Well, or if you had money, but that's true of anywhere. Because I'm sure if you had money, the Imperials would probably not a problem.
True. You know, just the short scene of Mustafar on Rogue One really did a lot for me for that planet. In Revenge of the Sith, yeah, it was a cool setting. It was a very fitting place for Darth Vader to do a bunch of terrible things to the Separatist leadership, and for Obi-Wan and Anakin to have their throwdown. But just that one little scene with Vader's castle in Rogue One, that did a lot for me in elevating that movie or that planet to one of my more preferred scenarios or more preferred environments in Star Wars. And I desperately hope that we go back to Mustafar a bunch of times. Like I hope that at some point, whether it's in episode 8 or 9 or in a novel or comic or anywhere, that Kylo actually takes us back to Mustafar.
It seems like that's in the works. It seems just too perfect and appropriate that they had the foresight to say, well, let's create this really killer pad super castle for Vader that we can come back to with his little protege who's in love with him, his little puppy dog who wants to be just like him, can go and set up shop there in a couple of movies.
Yeah, you could just picture Kylo just hanging out in that castle thinking it's his, right?
Yeah, just taking baths in the back of the tank to recharge.
or just like he's tapped it.
Don't forget about Sauron too.
Yeah, and
it looks like it to me. Like it
looks a little like Grayskull too. Skeletor could be in there.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know that whole. I'm super intrigued by that place too, Kylo. Honestly, the lore that they built up, the writers when they were talking about building it, like that really got my hamster wheel turning there.
I don't think I've ever heard you say that before.
And that's because the little guy's been taking a nap for like a decade.
A decade? At least.
All right. Well, we finally got a peek at The Last Jedi packaging for the toys. Does anybody have any thoughts on these? I'll just say that I was pretty underwhelmed. Maybe I'm just expecting too much from a toy package, but I saw the package, the white background, just the 3 characters who look virtually the same as when we last left them. I'm like, oh, okay. Great.
I'll defer to you, toy experts.
Yeah, I'm on the same page, Kyle. I like your descriptive term of what did you say? You said underwhelmed. Sorry. I wrote down lackluster, blah, fugly, and disappointed.
Wow. You went from underwhelmed to fugly.
I really am. I'm really disappointed. Like, I don't like the white. Like, they're just so, I don't know. There's nothing magical or like special about them. There's no allure to them. Like, they're just these white generic
the magical
packaging.
Toy packaging.
No, there's nothing alluring to them. You know what I mean? They just I don't know. The white's not.
There's nothing about them that makes Corey want to buy them and hide them under his bed.
Exactly.
And talk in really hushed tones that I spent $300 in The Last Jedi toys. Don't tell my wife. Yeah. Well, I thought that it was strange that, or I guess refreshing, depending on your point of view, that finally the good guys got to adorn the front of a box, because usually it's Darth Vader or it's Darth Maul or Kylo Ren was on packaging for The Force Awakens, and for Rogue One it's the Death Trooper. So usually it's the bad guys, and this time the heroes get a little bit of the limelight. Yeah, I'm just a bit bored by the design.
Yeah, that's it. The design was really underwhelming, lackluster. White. Like,
fugly,
white?
I think you said.
Yeah. Blah.
Blah. I'm still not.
It's kind of cool. Like,
I'll probably still buy it though. Maybe that'll be the kick in the pants I need to actually rip open some of these toys.
there's nothing much to take off from them too. Like, what? Rey's holding the Luke's saber, his old saber. Her hair is down. Finn still got Poe's jacket. It looks very much still very similar to a Force Awakens feel, you know?
Well, I mean, I guess it should to some regard, but
Yeah, they can't give anything away, really, but I just don't know why white.
yeah, I hear you. And what about those red triangles? Ooh, they kind of just look like these random geometric shapes just flopped in there for good measure. I'm sure somebody out there, probably on Reddit, has given us a theory as to what those shapes mean. Or somebody has cracked some kind of code. It's some sort of hidden line of dialogue or code about the movie.
Coded ruins or something? Runes?
Yep, some RUNES, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm picking up what you're putting down, James. Somebody somewhere for sure has put forth some theory. So Corey, you were going nuts this weekend, looking at images coming out of the New York Toy Fair, and stuff that's going to have the 40th anniversary of A New Hope badge on it. So do you want to just ramble for a couple minutes about what's coming out there?
Well, there's not too much to say. Like, I don't know. Like, again, I don't know what's come over me recently, but I just really feel the urge. There's an urgency to this, man. Like, I really need to get a lot of these toys. The original packaging one's very nice, but there's a lot of other stuff that's coming out as well. Like, there's Hera, Qui-Gon. Like, oh man, these are must-haves. But the original packaging stuff's very cool. Like, I don't need to collect all 10 or 8 pieces, whatever it is. Like, I'd like to get the Luke, the Leia, the Obi-Wan. Like, I don't need some dude from the Death Star, you know? Like, a Stormtrooper would be cool, but a Jawa would be cool. Like, they have that coming out. But, yeah, that's about it, man. Like, I don't need to be a completionist in that regard. Like, I just want to pick and choose the ones that I think are super, super cool, you know? But they're all really nice, and just looking at all of them, I was just like, there was Marvel news at this fair. There was, oh man, I was going crazy with all the nice stuff coming out.
I was saying to Corey, maybe I sent this to both of you, but I think we should all buy stock in Disney. I was thinking about my 3 favorite movies of the last year, calendar year, and they were The Jungle Book and Moana and Rogue One, obviously. So, like, there's a lot of dollars ending up in someone's pockets.
Oh yeah, we are lining Bob Iger's pockets so that when the world ends, he'll have his his comfy bunker lined with gold.
When I look on the horizon too, everything I want to see is all Star Wars and Marvel and like they're really doing well for themselves.
Oh,
Big
yeah.
time. Well,
Bigly.
I think we had talked about it not too long ago. I think they literally had about 25% of the movie market in 2016,
Mm-hmm.
and 2017 is projected to have like something like 33% or more.
That's
Like, they got
disgusting.
Tons of stuff coming out this year, like Beauty and the Beast, Cars, Spider-Man,
3 Marvel
Guardians.
movies.
Yeah, like, and big Marvel movies too, not just like,
Yeah, was it Guardians and Spider-Man and Thor?
yeah. Do they get to put their hand into the Logan pot at all?
I have no idea. I think maybe Tim and Troy can answer that better than I could. Yeah, I mean, the only stuff I'm interested in, like you said, Corey, there's the 6-inch Black Series Qui-Gon. Definitely got to have that. The Hera, I'll probably need to buy at least 1, probably 2 of those, because Harley has seen the pictures and she badly wants a Hera. Which doesn't help. I mean, I've still never seen a 3 3/4.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't know what gives there. I don't understand why we've never seen a regular Hera figure in stores here ever. Just that one dude
There was the
walking
one
around
that
Toys R
came with
Us.
There was one that came with an A-wing. I think that came out recently.
Well, that's been out for a couple of years, I think.
But yeah, I've never seen it. maybe I saw it once in stores years ago, but I doubt it.
Actually, you know what?
I would have bought it.
It did only come out, I think, last in 2016 in the second half, but I've never seen it. And I even told Walmart on Twitter, the nerve of them not to listen to me. I told them to get some. Jeez.
Tom,
In
you're gonna get
Canada?
chop rules on them.
Yeah, no,
Did you speak for all of Canada?
yes, I did.
All right.
Yes,
well
I
done.
did. I think I even tagged Toys R Us Canada in the tweet as well and said, "You jerks better get some of these toys." And they didn't listen to me.
You know, you catch more flies with honey.
I don't like flies. They're all jerks. Anyway, so James, what should we do here? We can talk a little bit about. We can actually do ads edition here. After which point you can call it quits for the evening, and Corey and I will finish up with Rebels. Or, well, that's option one, and option two is we do Rebels, and then you come back for ads edition.
Oh, whatever. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other guys. Whatever you want.
All right. Well, let's do ads now, and then me and Corey will just pound out the rest of the show.
Sounds good.
All right. So let's queue up ads here, and let's see what ads has to say this week.
Hello, chaps. Hope you are all doing well. So my question this week refers to my recent trip to London, where I was lucky enough to go and see the Star Wars Identities exhibition in the O2. Absolutely fantastic. I would recommend it to anyone that hasn't been. I think you guys have been previously when it was over in your neck of the woods. One of the things that really sort of blew me away, I suppose, was all of the Ralph McQuarrie original sketches. So, for example, the original sketches for C-3PO and the links that we've seen in Star Wars Rebels recently, where very similar looking droids are making an appearance. The recent Warheads episode, and then one of the earlier ones in Season 2, Lando's droid, both look very similar to the iconic Ralph McQuarrie droid. And then the other thing that I noticed that I hadn't made the connection before was one of the earliest drawings that he did for Han Solo and Chewbacca had Han with a beard, looking a little bit Cassian in appearance, holding a lightsaber as well. And Chewie, at that point, looked more like a pointy-eared space monkey, very much in the Zeb mold, which I find fascinating because all of these things are coming out in Rebels, originating from drawings that were done years ago. So I wonder what you thought about that, about those observations, and also whether you think maybe future characters that we may see in upcoming Star Wars films or TV series will be taken from the original Ralph McQuarrie drawings. All right, chaps, take care, and I will speak to you again next week. Bye.
And thank you, ads. Another great question. Who doesn't like talking about Ralph McQuarrie? And ads, I gotta say, that's a very strong call on your part for heading over to Star Wars Identity. Highly recommended for everybody else who has not yet gone. I don't know what you're waiting for. Get over there. Go check it out. And you're right on regarding episodes of Rebels like Warhead. That's a straight up concept of C-3PO. We've talked about that before. And yeah, the
Zeb.
I noticed the Zeb thing immediately when I saw that poster. I don't know, a year ago. Because I hadn't seen Rebels. I'd probably seen that poster before, but just thought he looked like weird for Chewie. But after having seen Rebels, I mean, you look at that poster and you go, "Oh my God, Zeb's in a Star Wars poster."
Yeah, it's the big round eyes, right?
And the shape of the head and the ears too.
Yeah. And then ads had seen a bit of Cassian Andor in the Han concept, I can now, I didn't see that before, but now I can see it. But I always thought that was just a very slender version of George Lucas. It was maybe what George Lucas had always envisioned for himself.
Especially the jumpsuit. I think he probably always envisioned that jumpsuit.
Yeah, exactly. I would.
I have one. It's sort of Borat-esque, actually.
Oh, man.
Very nice.
Very nice. Oh, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah, we both did
That's
it.
horrible.
It's retro now. No, it's okay again.
Is it?
Yeah.
Like he's gone around the dial. It's gone past tacky to acceptable use.
Yes, he said it's gone around the dial, and I got the WKRP in Cincinnati's theme song in my head.
I love that show. I miss that show.
I mean, that show went off the air before we were even born, and yet we've seen enough of it in syndication that we love it.
Les Nessman.
Herb Tarlick.
But the
Venus
Russians.
Flytrap.
Oh yeah, he was the best.
So anyway, Ralph McQuarrie, he's one of these. He's as legendary in Star Wars as George Lucas himself and John Williams and all these names who are just indelible as far as the franchise goes. I have no idea how much Ralph McQuarrie concept art is left out there that we haven't seen, or that people who create these stories haven't seen. But for my money, I gotta think it's a no-brainer that they're gonna just pull from his work for as long as they possibly can. I don't think there's any question about that, is there, James?
No, undoubtedly he's sort of got the benchmark. Johnny Fever.
Johnny Fever. Johnny Fever was awesome.
When you've got a well of usable, amazing source material like that, why wouldn't you keep going back to it?
Yeah, it's just a matter of how much is left, right?
Well, it seems like quite a bit, actually. Like, I mean, look, they've got brand new series being released with characters based on stuff that was drawn 40 years ago. I'm sure there's still stuff out there. There's still characters out there that we haven't seen yet that will go, oh, look at that little steal.
Yeah, because it doesn't take much to pull something, right? It could be just like...
It's a visual. All you need is one visual. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say that there was something pulled from some of his concept art and thrown in as scenery in Jeddah, or maybe it's in Episode 8. I can't remember. Oh man, it's gonna bug me now. But it was just like one pull out of a piece of concept art, and they spun it into a whole thing.
Well, it definitely wasn't Episode 8.
Well, no, it could have been one of those set photos that we saw. But I don't want to talk out of turn. There's that book. It's like a 2-part set of Ralph McQuarrie art. It's this really expensive, like $200 box set on Amazon. I desperately want to get my hands on it because I'm sure that's sort of the holy grail of all of Ralph McQuarrie's stuff when it pertains to Star Wars. And
I think there's just a nostalgia factor too that gets associated with anything that gets pulled out of his stuff, just because the hardcore fans, I don't know, there's something that just feels right about it. Like, yes, that's
nostalgic.
That's Star Wars. That's really what Star Wars is supposed to be. You know, those classic movie posters.
I see what you're saying. You're saying iconic.
Well, no, I wouldn't use that word for this scenario. I'm not talking about a TIE fighter.
No, but you're right, though. There's a mood that comes from Ralph McQuarrie art that it seems to fit the time, especially for fans like us and a little bit older than us that have that ingrained into us. It's sort of that whole feel, that whole aesthetic from that time is sort of imprinted into us. And so when we see it on screen, we kind of recognize it right away.
There's something about his artwork as well. Like, even as a child, like seeing it, like Luke against Vader in Empire, the concept art for that, where he's wearing like that scuba mask.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to pop up at some point.
Yeah, that'd be cool. like Dagobah, like all that stuff. When you see it, like again, to me, it's magical. Like there's something about it when you look at it. It's just so, it just sucks you right in, like. But so I really, you kind of nailed it, Kyle. Like, who knows how much of his source material is left? I hope there are troves of it, and I definitely hope we get to see more of it.
Well, here's a question. So, I mean, I'll throw out a number. So let's say for the Millennium Falcon, he did 50 different concepts. And obviously, 49 of them or 48 of them completely rejected out of hand, and they drill down on a couple of them until they get to the final design. Now, how of those rejected designs, like, are they rejected because they suck? Rejected because they just these two ones that we selected were cooler? Like, how far down the rabbit hole do you go before you say, you know what, this stuff we've run the course with Ralph McQuarrie art. We can't really use any more of it. Or, can you ever be guilty of using his art just to say you've used it?
Yeah, like, there's a difference between him, like, saying, like, I really adore, like, I put my heart and soul into creating this ship as opposed to a doodle on a napkin. I don't know if you catch my drift there, but, like, yeah, they definitely got to respect that. Like you said, if there's 50 Falcons, I could see maybe 5 other concepts being taken off of that. I think the Outrider or the YT-2400 is already one of those concepts.
Yeah, so, and I think another concept was used in Clone Wars. That long stealth ship looks kind of like a needle.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was an old Millennium Falcon concept, which was.
I have to say that was an excellent episode. Like, one of those episodes where I was totally enthralled.
Yeah, for sure. That whole
just like a game of chess, cat and mouse.
That was anything Christophsis Clone Wars was really cool. But I think there comes a point where maybe you just go too far with wanting to use Ralph McQuarrie stuff, just to say that you've used it. I don't know. Like, there's got to be the next McQuarrie at some point, right? We have great designers like Ian McKeag and Doug Chang now. They do wonderful stuff, but they also lean heavily on McQuarrie. That's kind of all I got. Anybody else? Oh, you know what? I was sort of prepping for this question a little bit, and I was flipping through this old Making of Star Wars book that I have. And so, of course, true enough, there's some Ralph McQuarrie art, and one of them, I can't really send you guys this picture right now, but if you go check out...
I saw it.
You saw I put it, I think I put it on the Facebook page.
Tusken Raider?
Yeah, there was an old Sandperson sketch. And the way the face was drawn up looked oddly familiar. And so I right away recognized the shape, and to me, it looks very much like a Scarif Stormtrooper. You did see that, right, Corey?
Yeah, it does. It has the same kind of visor. It seems like a biker scout almost.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, you could even lump the biker scout into that mix. And 3,800 people on Instagram saw that too. So, I don't know. I think there's something there. James, did you see that?
I'm just digging it up now.
I think I put it on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
No, it was a good catch. There's definitely something there with the visors, the eyewear, anyhow.
Well, the visor and sort of the mouthpiece, the oval-shaped mouthpiece right in the middle of the face. It's too closely related to be a coincidence.
Oh yeah, I see it now. I don't know if I would have pulled it out on my own, but certainly side by side.
It just jumped right off the page at me, going, "Whoa, there's a Scarif Stormtrooper." And even Kylo, that's the shape of Kylo Ren's eyepiece as well.
Yeah, it's true.
And that'll do it for Ads Edition this week. Get in touch with Ads at Ads Hillier on Twitter. A great Star Wars fan, and a big part of this show and a big part of the Commonwealth.
Thanks a lot, Ads, as usual. Top-notch stuff.
Just an all-around good dude.
All right, so that's it, James. I think this is where you get to punch the clock and hit the hay a little bit early.
Wow, cool. I'm going to tap out, and you know what? I'll probably go to bed later than ever. This is the curse. You get off early, and you're like, okay, I got a little bonus time. What am I going to do?
Yeah, you're all amped up
And
after
then
the show.
I'll be up all night.
Yeah, he's gonna be up all night watching Rebels.
You know,
I'm
that is
telling
a
you, James,
possibility.
this episode, big game changer.
Or are they leaving behind La Dernière Jedi?
I don't want to say that, but they may be leaving behind someone.
Interesting stuff. All right, I'll let you guys get into it at that then.
All right, well, James, tell the people where they can find you on Twitter.
Please come find me at Tommy Bombadil1 on the Twitter machine. And yeah, you guys will have a good rest of the show, I'm sure.
Excellent. We will. James, thank you, man. We'll catch up with you soon.
Peace.
Peace, James, you the man.
All right, Corey. So the Legacy of Mandalore. We're back talking about Rebels. It's been a sad month without Rebels. But here we go with a direct follow-up to Trials of the Darksaber. Early impressions of this episode?
Really good episode. I'm not gonna go out there and say it was my favorite of the show itself, but before we really get into the meat and bones of it all, I do have one kind of quick qualm. I really think this story arc that they undertook, it had a lot of meat on the bone, and they could have drawn it out into maybe a 3-episode arc, get it back into the Clone Wars style. Like, we really delved into a bit of Mandalorian culture there, and it was interesting. And again, there was a lot to be had. It seemed a bit rushed, even though, like, I love that, it was in your face. A lot of stuff happened in the episode. But again, they could have thrown a little more writing and dialogue and storyline in there and drawn it out into a three-part segment. And again, I understand that scheduling can be horrific, I'm sure. Like, we've learned that in the way that how they've dealt with this season. It's not easy to schedule things across the globe. Fine, I get that. But with this 3-week break, like, I think they should have just followed through with this story arc.
Yeah, no, I think it was,
and then taken a break.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that point. I think to end with Trials of the Darksaber and then pick up with this, I think they did a disservice there, because you really needed to watch these 2 episodes back to back. So, I hope a lot of people went back and watched Trials of the Darksaber before looking at this episode. I think that there's a big payoff there. But yeah, I mean, we continue this deep dive into the character of Sabine. Like, it seemed, for the first 2.5 seasons, we hadn't really spent all that much time on Sabine. It was the episodes that she got on her own, whether with Hera, with those Fear monsters, or with Ketsu. Really not much there, but boy, what we've been getting now is promising something really huge for this character. And lo and behold, Star Wars is always about family, and here we are now, meeting up the entire Ren clan. And we were teased that we would meet her mom, but I don't know that anybody knew really until maybe the day before the episode dropped that we'd also be getting a brother and mention of a father. So here we are, we have a whole nuclear family to deal with now. And yeah, I mean, it feels like we're on the cusp of something really big, both for Rebels and maybe going forward.
I like what you just said there, because that was kind of almost where I wanted to begin. I really wanted to get those 2 things off my chest, but you just kind of said it. This possibly could be the most significant episode in the, like, not necessarily the best, but the most significant episode in the entire series, in that there's so much going on here. And we've also heard talks recently of new animation coming out. Whatever they're doing here can open a lot of doorways. Like, people love Mandalorians. So, there could be a lot going on. And after having seen Rebels Recon, the way Dave Filoni and Tia Sakkara spoke about the future and what this episode really kind of meant. They both couldn't really say all that much, but both of them said it meant big things, not what we're expecting. So, it could be a segue into something new.
Yeah, I think where there's smoke, there's fire, and a lot of people are thinking that on the heels of this episode. So, yeah, I mean, this definitely could be a springboard, whether it's into a novel or a comic book, or I have a hard time thinking this could turn into a Mandalorian animated series. Like, is Sabine and her family, are they broad-shouldered enough to carry an entire series? I'm not sold on that. But
well, you can kind of get other characters crossing over into this as well.
Oh, no doubt,
Like,
no doubt. I'm not crapping on the idea. I'm skeptical of how you flesh that out until a fully formed show. I don't know, but I'm open to it.
I think the one problem for me, having thought about it a bit and saying, okay, we're gonna have this huge Mandalorian. I don't see the show, if it were ever to take place, being more than a couple of seasons. But my main qualm, if they do go that direction, is just never having heard of it in film or anywhere else to this point. So whatever they do, it has to be significant, right? Like, there has to be an end goal to whatever goal they're trying to accomplish. So if you never heard of, like, the Great Mandalorian War of said era, like, it kind of takes away from it a bit.
Yeah, they don't need to be going shoehorning things in just for the sake of making a show. I don't know. There's certainly something there, I think. And it could be just something as simple as a novel. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. But it certainly sounds, with the evasive nature of Dave Filoni and what are they doing? What's he up to next? What's the next phase of Star Wars animation? And us, we're looking at behind every corner. We're looking under every rock, every stone, looking for hints. And this is sort of the most tantalizing clue we've been given. Or maybe it's not even a clue. Maybe it's just us reaching into thin air and grabbing things that aren't there. But anyway, let's stick.
I think, I gotta get this off my chest now because it kind of just popped in my head. But this is kind of like the wild card for this season, right? Like, no one was expecting what happened here. I'd never heard any speculation as to that would be the ending to this show. When I saw it myself, I was like, wow. And again, my wife was watching it with me, and she watched Trials of the Darksaber as well. And she wasn't really, like, she always pretends like she's not watching, but at the end of Trials of the Darksaber, she was like, get out of the way, like, you're in the way. Like, she was all into it. And the same thing this episode.
Well, who could turn away in this episode? This was a really good episode. I mean, that opening scene of the white Mandalorians attacking the Phantom. I never get enough of seeing those white Mandalorian commandos. The armor is so cool. Again, there's more. No, that's not Macquarie stuff. I think I want to say that's Joe Johnston stuff. Anyway, they crash land thanks to Sabine's expert piloting. Nobody gets killed. And right away, we kind of get introduced to her brother Tristan. And then quickly after that, it's on to Ursa Wren, Countess Ursa Wren, Sabine's mom. And not the friendliest of welcomes for Sabine, which, of course, everybody expected. But anyway, I guess a little bit of backstory for those who haven't been paying as much attention is that Sabine built a weapon for the Empire once they took over and occupied Mandalore. They made Sabine build this weapon, and then they turned around and used it on her people. And when she spoke out against the Empire for doing that, her family sort of abandoned her, right? They kind of cast her out. And from that point on, she fled the academy. She took off with Ketsu, became a bounty hunter, and then joined the rebellion. And in the meantime, Gar Saxon was appointed as the governor of Mandalore on behalf of the Empire. And that's kind of where we find ourselves now. We're Sabine's family, the Clan Wren, are a little bit of outcasts. They've been shamed by what Sabine said and did, abandoning her post. And ever since, they've been trying to redeem their family name. So yeah, Sabine really put their family in a bad spot, even though she was only doing what she felt was right.
I like that a lot. I think that's a good way of writing it in. And there's so many cool things about this planet, like just about Mandalorian culture. Like it was almost described in a way that this planet, Cronus or Kronos,
Cronest.
I dug that, like, but it's not. They're not a true part of Mandalore, like, which is interesting to me. Like, I don't think they're not. They're a neighboring system. So, like, the Mandalorians, it's a system, right? Like, they got a whole bunch of planets here. Like, I thought it was kind of just more like a solar system, but I'm getting the idea that it's a whole part of space.
Yeah, it really is. It's like a whole sector of the galaxy that belongs to Mandalore.
So I like that part, and it seemed to me that, we hopefully we'll get to visit this planet again, but it seemed very Earth similar. I don't think it's a snow planet all year round.
One of the things about Star Wars, I mean, we just talked about planets a little while ago, is that every planet seems to just encompass one season. It's always sunny and hot on Tatooine. We've never seen anything other than nice and temperate, mild on Naboo. Dagobah always seems to be this humid swamp. I don't know that we necessarily deal with seasons in Star Wars.
Well, we should, because it's only logical. I get, Naboo is probably like at the equator, or just a nice temperate climate.
Yeah, I just don't think change of seasons ever factors in. It doesn't need to. Yeah, so Kanan asks, after they crash land, Kanan asks Fenn Rau to stick around because him being around is only going to cause trouble. But I mean, who expected Fenn Rau to actually stay on board the Phantom? And a good thing he didn't.
No, Kanan tells him, like, I think we're gonna
need you later, but for now, stay here. And he pretty much leaves right away.
Good thing he did, because Kanan tells him, "What took you so long?"
Yep. Well, again, so this weapon that Sabine made, and I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place here. It's 2 episodes in a row now where Sabine talks about this weapon that she made, and she's very scarred by this. What the hell did she make? And maybe it doesn't matter what she made, but it's twice that she references it in consecutive episodes, but not being any more specific than that. And I wonder if that's for a specific purpose, or if it's just not important. We just need to imagine that she made a very devastating weapon that was used against her people.
No, I definitely, in my show notes as well, I have, what weapon did she create? ? So...
Well, then you must really want to know if you put 3 question marks.
No, I think it's important. I don't think they should sweep something like that under the rug. I think it would be shoehorning if they... what were the weapons that they were smuggling in the early first season, that the weapons that destroyed Zeb's people, the Lasats?
Yeah, some kind of disruptors.
Yeah, disruptors. It's possible. But I think that would be shoehorning, because she should have felt a lot more guilty in that episode.
Yeah, maybe. So Ursa, of course, makes an obvious mistake in trusting Gar Saxon. And she tells him that they've got 2 Jedi. And he says, "Oh, we'll be right there." And so
that really bothered me, man. After having spoken with Sabine, they both kind of put it out there a bit.
Yeah, to have her flip on him. That was
just
dirty.
Right away, just like, yeah, like, you're supposed to be Mandalorian, honor, all this stuff. Like,
well, I mean, she's trying. I mean, she owes no allegiance or shows no favors to the Jedi, and she's trying to restore her family's name. And one way to do that would be to turn over a couple Jedi who are enemies of the Empire, and don't forget, enemies of Mandalorians as well. Think back to that Jedi Mandalorian war that erupted over the Darksaber. It seemed like there's a lot of historical bad blood between Mandalorians and Jedi.
Yeah, I just figured that, she'd be smarter than that.
Nah.
Like, just be... It made sense for the episode, don't get me wrong, but just disappointing in the sense that, like, what are you doing? Like, you're supposed to be these awesome people that, like... But no.
So, a cool note that Tristan referred to Gar Saxon as the Emperor's Hand, which was a nice nod to the old Legends moniker given to Mara Jade.
Yep.
So, are there begs the question if are there other Emperor's Hands, or was that just a passing comment that was just a little wink to Legends fans? I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Like, there are a lot of people that out there that just adore that character, and great character. But I could see the writing her back in somehow, like they did Thrawn.
Yeah. I mean, there seems to be a lot of going back into that very specific era, the very first stuff out of Legends. Okay, so they have this big battle once Gar Saxon comes to take out the Jedi, and of course he's there to pretty much kill everybody, including the Ren family. It's a pretty, I don't want to say brutal, but it's a pretty raw fight sequence. And then Gar and Sabine go crashing through the window out onto the frozen lake, and we get treated to what I think is one of the cooler battles with two non-Force users using lightsabers, or a lightsaber and a darksaber, as it were, in hand-to-hand combat. Did that bother you at all? Did it not register while you were watching it that here these two people are who aren't Jedi or Sith or any type of Force user using these weapons?
No, not at all. I was swept away in the moment, to be honest. It was just really well done. The way he just picked her up and took her out that window, she pulls that flip, like this wicked backflip twist, lands on her feet, and he's just like, boom, takes her out through that window. They land on the lake. I was just totally swept away. Like, plus the trials of the Darksaber, we know that she did train. She was confident in her ability. She understood that the Force did flow through her, in fact. So, yeah, like, Sabine's just a really strong woman. And
well, it's funny you say that, because I like how Kanan sort of stood up to Sabine's mom earlier in the episode, where she was being very dismissive of Sabine, saying, she's just a girl. And then Kanan kind of says, well, you'd be surprised of the woman she's become. Like, he's talking Sabine up. I was happy about that. Anyway, back to that the Saxon Sabine standoff. As well done as that fight was, I'm always listening to the music, and Kevin Kiner was great in this episode once again. But you hear the Force theme in the background as those two go at it, which I thought was a nice touch. And also a nice touch was Sabine chopping off Saxon's hand. Seems to be almost like a rite of passage in Star Wars. Somebody's got to lose their hand in a lightsaber duel.
I wanted to ask you that because I watched the episode twice. I watched it when it came out, and then I watched it again tonight right before the show. But I was a bit in a rush because you were actually ready early for once.
and you still needed more time to get ready, even though you're the guy that asks to go sooner.
No, I was ready for the time we're regularly scheduled at, but so you say, oh wow, he's ready early. I'm in the middle of the episode, so I start fast forwarding through things, and I'm like, man, it really looks like he got his hand cut off. But after having seen it twice, I still wasn't 100% sure.
Well, there was no clear shot of it, but it was fairly obvious to me. that she did actually chop his hand off. Yes, I mean she I guess in Mandalorian fashion she's probably supposed to kill him, but she chooses not to because Sabine's not a bad person, and he decides that he's going to shoot her in the back because Gar Saxon's actually not a nice person. And then again, Ursa has another flip-flop moment, and she saves her daughter by smoking a hole right in Gar Saxon's chest. Down he goes, and now they're in deep trouble because once the Empire finds out that their governor has been smoked, well, something bad's gonna happen to the Ren clan, and I guess you can only imagine that the rebellion will be there to help support them.
That's what I wanted to say before. I lost my train of thought. We were talking about it, and I was like, I gotta put this out there, and then I totally lost it. Luckily, you picked up. But this is a great way. It may not be the new series we were talking about, and Dave Filoni said like she's not going to be gone for long. Like she's Ghost Crew, you know, like.
Oh yeah, she'll be back. She'll be back with the Ghost Crew at some point soon.
Very soon. Like that's what I was saying. She's a wild card at this point. Like her character's up in the air. So what? We know there's going to be a head-on confrontation with Thrawn, right? What happens if they're the breaking point? The Mandalorians kind of just pop up out of nowhere, and Thrawn's like, "What?" You know, like that's what he wasn't expecting, and that's who helped him win this battle at the end of the season. Hopefully,
if the rebels win,
if they win, yeah, it's definitely gonna be. Even if they win, it's still gonna be a tie because. It's a lose-lose for everyone, but
like I can really easily see the rebels getting whooped at the end of season 3, making it out by the skin of their teeth, and then in season 4, which is yet to be announced but will probably be confirmed at Celebration in a couple months. Maybe that's the play in season 4, where the Mandalorians rally around Sabine and the Darksaber, and then the Mandalorians and Rebellion sort of unite a little bit to defeat Thrawn.
Yeah, that's it. Like that's what I'm saying. Like they can kill 2 birds with 1 stone at that point. Bring Sabine back. She brings the Mandalorians with her. Like she's obviously got to settle her story arc with her father and the Empire at this point.
Exactly.
But I would think the rebels would have their back if they're attacked. You know.
I think so. I think that's.
But this season, we know what we're kind of getting by the episode titles at this point.
Yeah. Season 3, I think we know it's coming from the last 5-6 episodes. And then to finish up here, Sabine decides that she's not going back with Kanan and Ezra. She's decided she's going to stay with her family on Cronest. She's going to figure out a way to rescue her father, and then I guess put Clan Ren back in order and back on the Mandalorian good books.
Another interesting thing too is it seemed very clear to me that she didn't want responsibility of the Darksaber still, even though she trained for it. It was told to her that she can reunite everyone. Hopefully she will take claim to it, but even in this episode she was like, I'll stay here till I find the right person, you know?
Yeah, she says something
Hopefully
to the
she
effect
finds
that,
herself.
I'm not Mandalore's leader, but I'll find the person who is. Again, it's another Bridge character. You can almost call her Sabine Bridger.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Or maybe it's Ezra Wren. Anyway, I didn't see that coming at all. I didn't see Sabine staying with their family. So there's gonna be a bit of a void there for some time. We all know that she'll be back. She's too core to the series to just disappear like that. But you and I have always talked about these outs for these characters, and if they ever wanted to, well, then Sabine could always just be the person to retire back with her Mandalorian people, and maybe they return to being pacifists. Who knows?
Yeah, we always said that she might end up with like Hera or Kanan because they're her like space parents. But now we've met her family, and each of them have a place to go.
pretty much. Anyway, so we're pretty much going to wrap it up there. But I thought it was really cool that Sabine uses pretty much all of her tools in this episode. I'm not sure if she used her jetpack, but she used her little hard light shield. She used her
jetpack for a bit, but it got incapacitated.
Okay, she used her shield. She used the flamethrower. She used that
shocker thing
that acts as sort of like a force push. And then she used that whatever, or maybe the shocker you meant was that device that zapped Gar Saxon's jetpack.
No, I meant like that shockwave.
Yeah, and she used whatever device it was that disabled the guy's jetpack. So I mean, she went through all of her tools, not to mention her martial arts abilities, her agility, and her hand to hand skills.
See, they listened to you and James, and they didn't use the saber lasso.
Yeah, they put that away. Mercifully. Well, didn't that get scrapped anyway in that battle?
Well, I don't know. I think because it's all part of that. What are those cuffs that she has now? Those Wonder Woman cuffs. What are they called?
I forget the name of them now.
But just quick thing before we go. How cool is it that they can still just surprise us like that? Like, I watched that episode, and again, like I said, my wife was watching it with me, and she started asking, like, "Oh, Sabine, what's going on?" You know, and I'm like, I don't know, like, really out of the blue, just they got us, they got me, man. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, they definitely got us just like that. I was totally not expecting that, but we'll see Sabine before long, and I really feel like they've planted the seeds of something else, a new branch of Star Wars storytelling here.
Yeah, longer story arcs, more culture.
Yeah. I've long said that this whole Mandalorian thing has been something that's eluded me. I don't quite get it, and I want to get it, and I guess the way to get it is just keep pounding away until I get it. But next week we get a peek at I guess a heavily conflicted Kallus. What's the episode called next week?
Oh, I can't remember.
Something about through Imperial Eyes or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it looks so cool.
But anyway,
I've never seen anything like that in Star Wars. That's that trailer. Like, you actually see the like his point of view, you know, looking in the hallway, like a video game almost.
Yeah, it was the first person
splashing water in his face. Like, oh man.
Yeah, he's feeling the heat for sure.
Yeah, his time has come.
All right, and also our time has come. Corey, thanks for popping by this week, man.
Yeah, always a pleasure, man.
Cool. And where can people find you on Twitter?
Everybody knows you can find me at Chop Rules with a Z.
Excellent. I'm at Tumbling Saber. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you to Ads. Thank you to Cast1973. Thank you, Matt Keegan, for your reviews. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Don't forget to check out Star Wars Commonwealth. Check out Talk Star Wars, Generation X-Wing, the Nerd Room, the Skyhoppers, and the Rogue Squadron podcasts. And again, if you can, spare a thought for us on iTunes, leave us a review. And if you're really feeling up to it, you can head over to StarWarsPodcastAwards.com, fill out the short survey there, and do right by us that way. And until Journals of the Willing, we'll catch you again soon. Bye for now.
Self-redeeming qualities, have they hindered me? Hindering, was I blind to see that you needed me? All of me, well, you I'm watching you walking away from me. Were you watching me? Was it just